Hi guys, it's Cameron from the Mighty Blues and welcome back today to another live stream. It is Wednesday. We're going to be talking about the Europa League. We're going to be talking about 7th spot and what finishing 7th could mean for Everton going forward in both the short term and the long term, because I think it's very, very important that we speak about both, because listen, in the short term, playing in the Europa League, playing in Europe, getting to go and see Everton all around Europe and, you know, bringing European teams to Goodison Park and watching the Blues under the lights in Europe, there's not many better things. But in the long term, you know, we've seen how this competition can affect us in the past. We've seen how, you know, sometimes we haven't quite been up to it. We haven't had the squads big enough. It's really affected our, you know, league form. And it's not just done that with Everton. It's done that with many teams. You'll find that teams in the Europa League, especially teams that finish 7th and getting it through having to play the qualifiers, usually struggle in the season afterwards. And, you know, Burnley last season, a really good example of it. Had a fantastic season the season before, finished rightfully so in a European place, and then ended up going to Scotland of all places. You know, I'm sure they wanted a Madagascar bloody or Jurassic mental Europeans or in some sort of country in Serbia or somewhere, and they ended up getting a Scottish team. I can't remember who it was. I think it was Aberdeen, and they ended up going out, and it really affected their league form in that season as well, and they struggled. And like I said, we've seen it happen to Everton before as well, so we're going to speak about that in today's live stream. I just want to say before we go into the live stream, because we're going to obviously discuss it, we're going to speak about the pros, we're going to speak about the cons, I just want to put out there that, you know, I really want Everton to be in the Europa League. I really want to see Everton playing in a European competition. I want to go to Croatia, for example, which was where I went last time. I want to go to Lille. I want to go with the 15 million Everton fans to Lille. I want to go to Germany. I want to go to all these different places and watch Everton Football Club. But if I can't go, I want to be sitting there on the telly watching us in those different countries, seeing the videos of the fans, seeing the pictures of the fans, absolutely loving it, taking over other cities. And I want to see other fans of, you know, European clubs coming over to Liverpool and coming and playing Everton at Goodison Park. I really want to see that. Obviously, we're going to speak about like the pros and cons, like I said, in today's stream. If Everton finish 7th, I'll be made up, because for me, playing in a European competition is vital for a club like Everton. It attracts players. Obviously it brings money in, and, you know, at the end of the day, it gives us a fantastic opportunity to play in the Champions League the season after, because look, finishing in the top 4 in England at the minute is not the easiest thing whatsoever. I mean, you've got 6 teams there that realistically are fighting for 4 places, and then the rest of the teams that, you know, are fighting to challenge the top 6. So you know, at the end of the day, probably the easiest way into getting into the Champions League is by winning the Europa League. And I think, don't get me wrong, there's some fantastic teams in the Europa League year after year after year. I think Atletico Madrid won it last year, proof of how, you know, good and how strong that competition is. But in the early stages, you definitely play winnable games, and games that, you know, I can see Everton team at the height of their level, their capability of playing football, like we were against Chelsea in the second half, playing a lot of the teams in the Europa League and being able to get past them. So I just want to say, obviously, listen, I want to see Everton playing in Europe, of course I do. I want to be going to Goodison Park on a Thursday night, watching Everton play Wolfsburg in the Europa League in the last 32. I want to be going to Lille to watch us play Lille, even if it is a boring game. It was one of the best experiences of my life. I want to be doing that. But of course, like I say, we have to take into consideration the other side of it. We've seen how it affected our season a couple of seasons ago when we were in the Europa League with Ronald Koeman. We finished 7th the season before that. We had to start playing football in July, because that's when the qualifiers start for the Europa League, and then gradually it ended up having a knock-on effect on both our league form and the Europa League as well. We didn't make it out the group that year. You know, we had to play about 3, I think, qualifiers it was, or 2 qualifiers, and then we got into the group and we never made it out the group, and it had a knock-on effect on our league form, and Ronald Koeman was sacked by the October, I believe. So, you know, listen, it's a really good talking point. I just want to say, obviously, we're currently 11th in the Premier League now, 4 points off 7th, so it's not impossible whatsoever. There's a lot of teams in and around us that are on similar points, and a lot of teams that could finish 7th. Obviously, they've got the likes of Wolves, who've been in fantastic form this season, had a really good season so far. Watford, very similarly, both of those teams in the FA Cup semi-final as well, and both of those teams could get into Europa League through winning the FA Cup, I believe. So there's a lot of teams around us that are fighting for this 7th space, and at the minute we need to just start winning games, and I think that's first and foremost what should be looking at. I wanted to come on obviously and discuss the Europa League because it's something that is very realistic and we could be in next season, but for me, I want Marco Silva and the players to be just focusing on winning games of football, not looking ahead, not looking at where we could be next season, just focusing on getting as many points on the board as we can, and then going into next season with what we've got. Whether we finish 7th, whether we finish 8th, doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, if we're getting in the Europa League, we're getting in it through having to play qualifiers in July. I think they start, because the only way you go straight into the group is if you finish within the top 6, and I don't think that, you know, we'll be finishing in the top 6 this season, or, you know, anytime soon for that matter. So I think we have to understand that if we're going to be in the European competition next season, in the Europa League, we're going to be doing it by starting playing football in July. Now, obviously the Premier League season starts in August, so the lads will be back in pre-season by July anyway, but it's a little bit of a tougher ask if you're asking them to go all around Europe and play games of football in a competition that, you know, the teams that we're likely to be playing will be taken very, very seriously, because it's their big opportunity to get into, you know, one of the only 2 big European competitions in club football. It's a big ask for the likes of the lads who, you know, have been coming back from holiday and preparing for the next Premier League season. And I think I was on Toffee TV and we were speaking about this off camera, me and Baz made a really good point. He said, for me, it's not necessarily the fact that the Europa League's massively hard to play because you play on Thursdays and Sundays. It's just poor management. If you don't manage your squad well, then you will not do well in the Europa League and the league. If you manage your squad well, then you can do well in both competitions. And, you know, I think it's a really good point, and if we do get in the Europa League next season, it'll be a real test as to whether Marco Silva can manage this squad well, because at the end of the day, I've said it for a couple of weeks now, I said it a couple of streams back, we've got a decent 11 players, obviously a Premier League class 11 players, probably an 11 players that could beat 15 teams, 16 teams maybe in the Premier League on the day. But for a competition like the Europa League, for me at least, you need a good 20, 25 players that can come in and out every single week and can do it in both the Premier League and the Europa League at a top level. You need those type of players, because at the end of the day, if we're playing with the same 11 Thursday and Sunday every single week, or alternate weeks, whatever, the players are gonna feel it and they're gonna struggle. Or there's been some injuries in international duty as well, which we'll speak about in today's live team. So like I said, if we get injuries throughout the season, which is bound to happen, and we haven't got a squad big enough to be able to see us, you know, play teams on a Thursday night in Croatia and then play a team on a Sunday, you know, in London, then we're going to struggle, of course. I just want to say as well, before we go any further into this team, I do apologise about the little news articles on that side of me there being exactly the same as they were in the last stream. I just come on today to try and change them and try and obviously change the text and stuff in the little editing software I used to do it, and it wasn't loading the fonts at all. It was having none of it, so unfortunately I've had to leave them like that. It would basically, one of them would just be talking about the Europa League and one of them would be talking about a couple of the injuries that have happened on international duty as per usual. Has there ever been an international duty where Everton players have gone out and all come back fit? Because it literally seems like when players start to do really well, they go away with the country and that's it, then they come back injured. And it really is frustrating. I'm just going to tweet this team out so everybody knows we are live, of course, on Twitter, so they can come over and give us a watch if they want. Close to 450 subscribers now as well, so if you haven't already, please do subscribe, and if you are enjoying the stream so far, it'd be massively appreciated if you could leave a like. Just before I go any further into the stream, this Saturday I'll be doing the Goodison Park zip slide, raising funds for Everton in the community. It's a zip line from one end of Goodison Park to the other. I've left a Just Giving link, in the link in the description down below. If you've got absolutely any spare pennies whatsoever, it will be really appreciated if you could drop us a donation. Like I said, all funds raised are going straight towards Everton in the community, and I'll be filming the day on Saturday. Of course, I'll be doing a little vlog before, giving me feelings, and then trying to film as much as I can inside the ground. And obviously with me doing the zip slide, I'm going along with a couple of people, so hopefully they'll be able to film me doing it, and then that'll probably go up as a vlog next Wednesday, a little day vlog thing that you can watch, and you can see me basically be shitting myself to do a zip line across Goodison Park, hoping that it can hold me, even though I'm not that heavy. You never know with a stadium that's 100 odd years old, do you? So yeah, that'll be coming out next week, of course. But yeah, just wanted to remind you all that is this Saturday. I'm looking forward to that one. I'll dive into the live comments now. EFC 1878 is under Martinez. We were all made up when we got Europe, got to the quarter-final in Europe and finished 11th under Koeman. We got into Europe and we're shite in both Premier League and Europe. It's not always a very good thing. Exactly, and I think listen, I think we need to understand that as good as the Europa League is, and as fantastic as it is watching Everton in Europe, and as fantastic as it is, like I said, going to Goodison Park on a Thursday night, I keep saying a Wednesday night, on a Thursday night, and watching, you know, Everton play these mad European teams, I think we do have to realise that it can have a knock-on effect, and that's why I wanted to do this live team today. I wanted to speak about the effect it could have on the team going forward, the effect that it may well and probably will have on the Premier League season, because look, at the end of the day, like Baz said, he made a really good point, you have to manage your squad well, and we haven't had that proof yet from Marco Silva that he can manage a squad in both a European competition and in the Premier League as well. Plus the fact that even if he can manage the squad, the players that we've got, we haven't got enough players for me to alternate as we'd need to between both competitions. We haven't got enough quality in the squad, and that's what we're going to need to add in the summer. We're going to need to add it either way, but if we finish in 7th place, let's say for example if we do, then Marcel Brands is going to have an even bigger job on his hands in the summer. We spoke about the job that he's got on his hands in this team on Monday. Like I said, he's going to have an even bigger one on his hands if we finish 7th, because he's going to have to bring in players that have got that quality to play week in, week out, and that can, you know, understand that one week they might play in the Europa League, the next week they might play in the Premier League, they might be playing in both. We need to be bringing players in like that. If we do finish 7th, like you said, under Martinez, we had a fantastic run in the Europa League, beating teams like Wolfsburg with Kevin De Bruyne, and then going to the likes of Lille and taking however many millions of fans we took to Lille, and, you know, going to Krasnodar and Samuel Eto'o scoring in Europe as well. And we had a fantastic time in Europe under Martinez until we come up against Dynamo Kiev, and, you know, we beat them in the first leg, and you were thinking, okay, we're going to get into the semi-final here, we've got a real big opportunity. And then Yarmolenko turns around and absolutely just smacks us on the arse, and that was it for that one. And our league format, from what I can remember, it was affected by that season as well, and a lot of us were holding on the fact that, okay, you know, we're in the Europa League quarter-final, we've got a good chance of getting through to the semi-final. If we win the Europa League, then it doesn't really matter where we finish in the league, as long as we don't get relegated. If we win the Europa League, then, you know, fair, of course, Martinez has done a good job. But what ended up happening is we ended up getting knocked out, I think it's fair to say unexpectedly. We got battered, and then everyone just sort of went, well, look at the league form, it's shite, innit? And I think that's a good example of where the Europa League, certainly starting playing in July, can have a real knock-on effect on your season ahead. Matthew says, I always want Everton to win football matches, but we are far better without it. Realistically, we aren't at the stage of winning the Europa League. I don't want our players to be knackered come August. Exactly, and like I said, if we do finish 7th, they'll have to start playing competitive European football in July. And okay, it might be against some dodgy team from the ends of the world who mightn't be that good, but at the end of the day, mentally you still have to be ready to be playing in a European competition, and they'll have to be at that level by July, rather than at the level of thinking, okay, we're just, you know, we're in pre-season, every game's a training game, we're building our fitness. It won't be building your fitness, it'll be playing in a European competition to try and earn your place in a group stage, like you've said there. You know, in there, that's why I wanted to speak about it. That's why I mentioned it at the start of the team. For the short term, it's absolutely fantastic, because, you know, winning a European competition, it automatically attracts players. I think that's a fact. And of course, you know, it brings in more money, and you know, it's fantastic for the fans to watch your team in Europe. But in the long term, if that has a long term effect on our season, and we end up, you know, dropping further and further down the table, look at us this season. We haven't had European football this season, and, you know, until about 2 weeks ago, some fans were saying we were in a relegation battle. Some fans were saying that, you know, we need to start picking up points, otherwise we're going to struggle. So at the end of the day, I think you're right. Sometimes it does have a big knock-on effect, and sometimes you might be a little bit better without it. Mess says, Mina and Digne injured. We are screwed, ain't we? Yeah, we'll speak about that in just a minute. Of course, there has been a couple of injuries. If you didn't know, Yerry Mina picked up a hamstring injury in Colombia's 2-1 defeat to South Korea yesterday, I believe that was. What can you say, basically? Yerry Mina, for me, has got quite the injury record for such a young lad. The extent of the injury hasn't been released yet, I don't think. He'll obviously be... he'll go through a number of tests, probably has gone through a number of tests with the Colombian national squad, and will do when he comes back to Finch Farm as well. All we can hope is that one isn't serious. And Luca Dean as well has got a little bit of a knock as well in international duty with France. So, like I said, the Yerry Mina situation, a lot of us were saying after the Chelsea game, right now it's Yerry Mina's time. He has to start playing well. He has to start being in the team week in, week out, because he is going to be the centre half. And typical Everton international duty strikes again, and he's gone injured. And with Luca Dean, like I said, for me, being our player of the year, so going to be a massive miss, of course, although I do think Leighton Baines could step in. It'll obviously still be a big miss. David Collins says, you'll just be living if the line snaps. Yeah, I'll tell you what, it'll make for a good vlog, won't it? I think it'll do decent views if I titled it, I ziplined across Goodison Park and the line snapped. Who knows, think of the views. Paul says we won't finish 7th anyway. Fair enough, and like I said, it's still, like I mentioned before, very realistic chance that we won't finish 7th. Like I said, we're currently 11th place, which is what, 4 points off 7th, 4 points off you know, the 7th place, Wolves who were in 7th place, and although that might seem like a win and a draw, you know, if we beat West Ham and we draw to Arsenal, you know, we're right in there, but that takes in consideration the teams in 10th, 9th, 8th and 7th cocking up, and when you've got the likes of Wolves who have been on fantastic form recently and had a really, really good season, and Watford as well, both in semi-finals of an FA Cup, you know, we're really holding off our chances on other teams cocking up rather than realistically where we should be as bang on 7th at this point in the season anyway, because we should have won the games like Southampton away, Leicester at home, Newcastle at home, Watford at home, etc, etc. David says no chance of Europa next season. Fair enough, fair enough. Still says, don't think we will get in the Europa this season. We haven't went on a win streak all season, so I can't see it happening now. We need to establish ourselves as a Europa League team to make that next step. Fair enough. Paul says, Wolves will finish 7th. EFC 1878 says, on the other hand, it could attack some big names and give the players we already have a kick up the arse and a confidence boost. Of course, it definitely could. David says, we need a blue exit to sort ourselves out. Maybe we do. Glyn says, sorry, just played the under-21 guys up to round 1. If they have taken that, it's if we get in the Europa League. Again, it's a possibility, but then, you know, the players like Bernard and Luca Dean and players like that will have not had that, you know, feeling of playing in the Europa League and feeling of playing a competitive European game, and we might step into the group and get a decent side and, you know, end up getting turned over. Where are we? David says Europa League doesn't attack top players. Players, yes, but not top players. Read 2 summers ago. Yeah, I don't think it attacks top players, but it puts us in a better situation than what we are now. It definitely attacks more players than, you know, obviously just having the FA Cup, the Capital One Cup or whatever that's called now, Carabao Cup, and the Premier League. If you've got, we're in the Europa League as well, we're going to be playing in the European competition. We could be playing teams like Atletico Madrid, Napoli, teams like that, even though they'll finish in the Champions League, but every season end up dropping into the Europa League. Then it does attack players, I do think. Yes, it probably won't attack the top players, like, you know, the saying goes, getting in the Champions League attacks top players, but it will attack more players than, you know, what will probably be looking at us now. Where are we? Niranjan Raj says, Dean has just posted that he's looking forward to the weekend. Good news. Yeah, hopefully it's just a little knock that he got. Hopefully, you know, he's fit to play. Hopefully everybody's fit to play, but I dare say that, you know, if he's tweeting stuff like that, or he's posting stuff like that, whatever he's put it, he's probably fit to play at the weekend. And Matthew says, I think we need to work from top to bottom like the way Klopp did. Priority is to get a 25 to 30 goal a season striker. Exactly, and I don't like using the Jurgen Klopp example because I always think people are going to go, oh, you want to be like Liverpool, is that the other? I hate Liverpool. I'll just put that out there, but what Jurgen Klopp has done is, like you've said there, he's built upon a squad. What he's done is he's identified what he needs. He's brought in an attacker. He's then said, right, okay, we need a central midfielder, I'll bring one of them in. Right, okay, we really desperately need a centre half, I'll bring one of them in. Right, okay, we really desperately need a goalkeeper, I'll bring one of that in. And over the years, he's built, and it's been like a staircase. He's built and he's built and he's built. He's not just got that team 4 years and gone, bang, let's buy 8 players, let's buy 9 players and hope it works. He hasn't. He's bought small amounts of players season by season by season, and now they're, you know, could be in a Champions League semi-final and fighting for the league title as well. Like you said, Klopp, a really good example of a manager that could manage his squad to play in both the Europa League and the Champions, playing both the Champions League and the Premier League, week in, week out, and do that consistently, as we're seeing now. Has Marco Silva got that about him? We don't know. We'd only have to wait and see. It'd be a case of us finishing in the Europa League and then seeing if he's got that about him. I suppose the same with Ronald Koeman. We had a decent season, finished 7th. We were really looking forward to the season following, and then what happened was, you know, of course, we ended up not doing well in the Europa League. Our league form tailed, and then we ended up realising that he needed to go because he wasn't the right man for us. So I suppose we'll only have to wait and see about that. But like I said, it's a really, I think it's an interesting conversation, because although a lot of fans say, listen, you know, we're not going to make it into the Europa League, knock that one on the head, it's absolutely out the equation. I understand that, because I understand the point that, you know, everyone's making. We haven't had a good run of form this season. We haven't, since the derby, we haven't had a consistent run of like 2, 3, 4 games where we've just gone on and won all the games. You know, we could have had that few weeks ago if we didn't give away a stupid lead at Newcastle. Would have won 4 games would have gone 4 games without losing. and 3 of them not conceding a goal after a 17-day break and before an international break, which would have been a decent run of form, but we didn't. We lost the Newcastle game, and that absolutely scrapped that one. So I understand where people are saying, listen, don't worry about it, we mightn't get it anyway, and we mightn't get it. Like I said, 11th place at the minute, regardless of whether we're 4 points off, 9 points off, 25 points off, we're 11th place, and that means there's 4 other teams that are fighting for that place ahead of us, and there's teams below us that are going to be fighting for it as well. And if we don't start to pick points up, if we don't win at West Ham on Saturday, if we don't get Arsenal back to Goodison Park and get a result there, if we don't, beat Manchester United, which again is going to be a really, really tough game, then Europa League really is out the equation altogether. But, like I said, it's a real possibility. We could finish, 7th, we could nick it, and then where do we go from there? For me, Marcel Brands and Marco Silva have got an even bigger job than the bigger job we thought they had in the summer. They have to sit down and they have to go, right, okay, we're playing in 2 competitions here now. 2, big competitions. Of course, we've got the FA Cup and of course we've got the Carabao Cup, but we're going to be playing on a Thursday and we're going to be playing on a Sunday when we're in this competition. We're going to be playing maybe in Russia on the Thursday and maybe in, Birmingham on the on the Sunday, or I don't know, Burnley or Wolverhampton or whatever. Not Birmingham. That's a shocking example because no Birmingham teams in the Premier League. But you get what I mean anyway. And they'll have to sit down, they'll have to look, and they'll have to go, okay, what do we need and what have we got now and what's good enough and what isn't good enough. So let's say, the starting 11 that we usually play: Pickford, Keane, Zuma, Dean. Let's say it's this season, for example: Dean, Coleman, Gomez, Gay, Sigurdsson, Bernard, Richarlison and Calvert-Lewin play on a Sunday. Okay, who do we play on the Thursday? Okay, maybe Pickford can come in. Maybe has Leighton Baines got enough in the tank? Okay. Michael Keane can stay in. Yerry Mina, yeah, okay. John Joe Kenny, is he good enough? But after the decide. The 3 midfielders: Morgan Schneiderlin, is he good enough? Tom Davis, is he good? And so on and so forth. And we'd have to look at that and we'd have to assess, okay, which players aren't, and that means we need to bring in players that are good enough to play both in the Europa League and the Premier League. Like I said, it's fantastic when you sit down at the end of the season and you go, right, we're playing in the Europa League next season, amazing, can't wait. Yes, we get to go and watch the team in Europe, we get to see us hopefully attack some better players. But then when you halfway through the season and it starts to get to the harder stages of the Europa League and you start to realise, okay, maybe we're not as good as some of the teams we're coming up against, and you go out of the competition and then you go, okay, well, let's look back on our league form, and then you look at it and you go, shit, Jesus Christ, we're 12th in the league. It's really, really affected us. We've got no chance now, and what's happened the last couple of times that we've been in the Europa League, and that's what's happened to a lot of teams that have been in the Europa League in the past. We need to make sure that A, we've got a big enough squad to be playing on a Thursday and a Sunday, and B, we're managed well. We're managed really, really well. Marco Silva needs to, tactically manage this team fantastically if we play in the Europa League next season. Like I said, if we don't, might be sitting here in bloody May and this team might be absolutely useless. You might look at it and go, oh, pointless that because we didn't finish 7th, and it might be, but for me it's worth talking about, certainly when we're on an international break. And of course we don't play now till Saturday. We've got Friday to do the game preview. I want to come on and I want to talk about what finishing 7th could mean to Everton. That, for me, it's that, and I know it's only a month before, and I know it's it's very little difference in terms of players being fit and stuff, but it's that starting playing football in July that really, really gets to me, because not only, like I said, is it playing, during what your pre-season would usually be, it's having to be mentally up for playing in a European competition when realistically everybody else is just getting themselves back to fitness, playing training games, making sure that they're fit for the Premier League season. And for me, it automatically puts you on a back foot to go into the Premier League season, because you're already, like somebody mentioned in the comments before, you're already tired and you're already at that point where, your legs are going a little bit, and you've played games in countries far away from your hometown, and you've had to do the travelling, going, rather than going to Lincoln to play a pre-season game, which is a little bit of a warm-up exercise, and you're getting your fitness going, you're going to the likes of Russia, the likes of Ukraine, and you're going to these countries and you're playing. And for me, that really does have a knock-on effect, specifically because you then have to play those games, and even then you have to, then go doing the group stage, and you might get 3 fantastic teams in your group, and that be it then, and that's had that massive knock-on effect on your Premier League season, because of how you've, because of started playing in July and stuff like that. Listen, I'm not going to sit here and lie. 2 seasons ago, I went and watched Everton in Croatia in July. It was boiling hot. It was about 30 degrees, going to watch Everton Football Club. It was Gylfi Sigurdsson. I think it was his first game. It was definitely his first goal. He scored that goal from the halfway line. Jordan Pickford saved the pen. It was one of the best experiences of my life. But the knock-on effect that had on the season after was quite telling, to be honest. We ended up finishing whatever we finished in the Premier League, and Ronald Koeman was sacked because he couldn't manage the team properly. So it's going to be a massive task for Marco Silva if we do finish 7th to see if he in fact can manage the squad properly. And like I said, maybe it's time for them to put some of the questions to bed that people have been asking them. If you're all enjoying the stream so far, please do leave a like. Where are we in the live comments? David says, like Klassen and Sandra, exactly. 2 players that were brought in under Koeman and Walsh to, you know, be a part of the Europa League squad to help us in our efforts to get far in the Europa League and in the league, and 2 players that really just didn't fit into our system whatsoever and never ended up working. David says, in 83 we had a bang average team. Fast forward to 85, this squad does need a couple of strong additions, but it's not a squad I'd rule out of top 6 next season. And it's not, and like I said, again, it's tough to say anything about the top 6 next season because, you know, Chelsea aren't looking in the best condition so far. They're transfer banned for 2 years now. They're not really loving playing for the manager. Arsenal as well. Okay, they're on the up, but their away form isn't fantastic. Manchester United, yes, you know, doing well with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, but they've lost 2 games on the bounce now. They've still got a massive decision to make in the summer. So, you know, there's a possibility we could finish in the top 6 next season, but like I said, we need to just focus at the minute on getting as many points as we can at the end of this season and seeing where we end up. And if we do end up in a Europa League competition, then we need to massively prepare for that. From May to July, we need to prepare for it more than we've ever prepared before. And like I said, it's really going to show how good of a manager Marco Silva is and whether he can manage a squad in, you know, a competition like the Europa League and the Premier League. If we don't, then again, we just go with that, what we were speaking about on Monday's stream. We bring in the players that we need to bring in. We improve in the areas we need to improve, and we go again in the Premier League, and we aim to finish in the top 6 so we don't have to play the qualifiers in July. We aim to finish in the top 6 so we go straight into the Europa League, or, you know, I dare I say the Champions League. I'm not even going to say it. So we need to be aiming to finish in the top 6. We don't want to go into next season going, okay, you know, we don't want to finish 7th this season and then go into next season and go, okay, let's focus on finish 7th again, because to be honest, that's not going upwards, that's just staying, and I don't want to stay, I want to go upwards. So if we finish 7th this season, then Marcel Brands needs to prepare, and Marco Silva needs to prepare in the summer to, you know, bolster the squad enough to make sure that we can at least challenge the top 6 sides. Matthew says, don't mention the Newcastle game, Cam, I feel like throwing up. Trust me, Matthew, I feel the exact same way as you, mate. And David says, a laughing face. Yeah, I think we all feel that way about the Newcastle game. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there for today's team. A little bit of a short one, but I think we've spoke about what we wanted to speak about. Listen, like I said, it's not nailed on. It's not, you know, 100% that we're going to get the Europa League. It's still, you know, quite a distance away. At the end of the day, we've got 3 or 4 teams that are ahead of us that are also fighting for the Europa League, 2 of which are in a FA Cup semi-final, and we've got teams below us that are fighting as well. So if we don't pick points up against West Ham, if we don't beat West Ham, if we don't bring Arsenal back to Goodison and get points, if we don't bring United back to Goodison and get points, then we may as well kiss the Europa League goodbye. And like I said, we might be sitting here at the end of the season in May, and we might look at this live team and go, absolutely pointless, that, what a waste of 27 minutes talking about your competition that we're not even in. That might well happen. It's a real possibility that might happen, but equally we might be sitting here in May, going, Jesus Christ, we done really well in the last 8 games of the season. We beat some teams we didn't think we were going to beat, and we ended up finished 7th. What now? Where do we go from here? How can we prepare for starting playing football competitively in July, and what effect can this have on our season if we don't prepare properly? And that's what Marco Silva and Marcel Brands need to be looking at. But like I said, at the end of the day, this is just us speaking as fans. This is me just bringing a subject to you guys and, you know, inviting you all to discuss it in the live comments, of course. And if you're watching it as a YouTube video, in the comments section as well. That's what it's about. That's what I wanted to make the channel for. That's why I do the channel, is so that we all have a conversation. We all have opinions on what's going on at the minute at our football club. And the Europa League is just one of the many things that's floating around the Everton minefield at the minute. So I wanted to bring it up and let us discuss it. And obviously, thanks to everybody in the live comments as per usual for getting involved and leaving your thoughts. And if you're watching it as a YouTube video afterwards, a massive thank you to all of you as well for watching. And please do leave your comments in the comment section down below. What do you think the Europa League could mean for Everton next season? And, you know, do you want to be in the Europa League just regardless of when we start playing football, regardless of the effect it could have on? Do you just want to be playing in the Europa League next season? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Of course, I'll be back on Friday for the full game preview to Everton versus West Ham on Saturday at 5:30. Like I said, I'll be doing the Goodison Park zip slide, raising funds for Everton in the community on Saturday afternoon, and then I'll be rushing straight back home to watch the game. I'll have a vlog up next week at some point of the zip slide, and of course I'll have the instant match reaction up for the game on Saturday as well, and then the full game review on Monday. But anyway, that's going to be doing it for me today. A massive thank you all for watching as per usual. If you have enjoyed, please do leave a like. If you haven't already, please do subscribe to the channel. It really does mean a lot to me. A massive thank you to everybody in the live comments as per usual, and if you're watching it as a YouTube video afterwards, a massive thank you to you as well. Don't forget to join me on Friday for the full game preview to the West Ham United game. Hopefully it's another 3 points for the Blues. A massive game, and like I said, let's just focus now on picking up as many points as we can before now and the end of the season, and then we'll see where we are in May. We'll assess where we are, and we'll assess how we need to prepare for the season coming up. But let's just get as many points on the board as we can, and hopefully, you know, we're in a decent position going into next season. David says, nice one, C-Unit. Thank you very much, David, and thanks to everybody else for watching as well. That's going to do it from me. Massive thanks for watching. Like I said, don't forget to join me live on Friday at 6:15 for the full game preview of the West Ham United game, and I'll see you soon on the Mighty Blues.